so we're back. We're gonna finish up the frame pieces today. So we're gonna put in the bottom panel support, the drawer slide supports, and the back panel, and maybe get started on our drawer boxes today. But to start, we're gonna put in these 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch supports with some glue and a brad nailer. So let's get right down to it. All right, so this is why you dry fit everything and usually cut as you go, but I pre-cut this bottom panel to the kind of cutouts that I thought I'd need, and I did them backwards. So essentially I made the longer end in the wrong spot, so it should have been an inch and a quarter long by 3/4 inch deep, and I did that like the reciprocal of that. So just had to redraw some new cut lines. We'll cut with a jigsaw and then get this bottom panel in. All right, so we've cut all of our drawer rail or drawer slide rails to length, so 2 to 17.5 inch for the middle supports, and then 2 to 15 inch, and that'll give us 6 each. I think that makes sense. Anyways, we're just gonna rip them to 2 inches wide here, so thought it might be fun to film. All right, with these, it's pretty simple. We're just gonna put a style essentially flush like that all the way down. That's why I only pocket hole 3 of them. And then we'll brad nail and glue the other one for the opposite side against it. And then for the sides, same thing, we'll brad nail and glue into the actual rails and stiles for the side panels. So you'll see what I'm saying here in a second. Let's get after it. All right, now that we've got our rails and stiles, don't think that's what they're called, but drawer slide rails, I'll call them that, installed on the frame. Inside of the frame here, we'll go and attach the back plate. So for that, just gonna put some glue everywhere as it's supposed to touch, and then we'll brad nail it in. So let's get going on that. now we're gonna start the drawer box build. So to start, we're gonna cut all of our sides to length, so 12 sides at 18 inches. And you can see this is where having the T-tracks built into my miter stand here, really helpful. I can get exact cuts on all of them, and that's gonna be a big part of making these boxes square, right? Having all the sides, fronts and backs exactly the same size. So I've set it to 18 inches. Now we're just gonna rip them all down. Okay, we are so close to finishing up. So what we need to do now is cut a slot into all the side pieces and front pieces of our drawer box panels so that we can slide our 1/4 inch thick drawer base inside of. So this is the part that I didn't get to show you guys last video, cutting the rabbet into the back legs, but fortunately we have another opportunity to do it here. So first things first that you have to do, and we're going to use the table saw method to do this, you got to remove your riving knife, right? Otherwise, it's going to ride along the slot you're trying to cut, and since you're not going all the way through the piece of the wood, and this sits slightly higher than the blade as it's supposed to, it'll prevent you from pushing your wood through your stock. So next thing we did was we measured out using one of our setup blocks. This is the 3/8 inch one, and we need 3/8 inch clearance on the bottom here. So just like that, and if I put it here, I think it's actually a little wider that I ended up drawing. Yeah, just a hair, but that's okay. So what I did was I aligned this against the fence and then between the blade, and I just drove the fence over the blade until it was 3/8 inch thick due to my setup block. Then I took my setup block, set it against the highest tooth of my saw showing, and then drove it up to 3/8 inch. So that's why setup blocks are so helpful. And like I said, you can pick up this set for real cheap. I think I got it for like 20-something bucks on Amazon. I'll leave the link to the description. I'm talking a lot. Let's just get after it. All right, so we got all our grooves cut, as you saw, which was super successful and really not a bad situation. I just caution you, if you're going to do that, don't put your anytime I come near the blade, even to change the riving knife, like whatever, I always have the machine unplugged. I mean, just freak accidents happen, you know. So anyways, I just caution you not to put your hand anywhere near where the blade's at. You can track it with this, put a piece of tape, something, because as you finish through that slot, your hand or whatever tool you're using is going to drag right where that blade was. So just keep it away like you saw me doing. All right, now we're going to cut the 6 back pieces. They're all 7 inches wide, which is the width of the actual drawer panels themselves. However, the bottom panel is actually going to extend a little bit. Well, it won't, but you'll see what I mean when I do it. Anyways, this is going to sit on top of the back panel or the bottom panel and be flush with the rest. So we got to cut off basically I don't know, it's like 5/16 of an inch. I think that's right. Maybe, no, I think it's more. Anyways, you'll see. Let's get after it. All right, so after a lot of cutting and pocket holing and sanding, I've got one drawer box ready to put together. Everything's cut down to size and all the pocket holes are drilled. I just got to sand the rest of the stack here, but I wanted to get one together before I close out for the night. So we're going to go ahead and try to put one together now. I've dry fit them. I already don't think they're going to be super square, so let's see how this goes. I'm super excited about it. so it's about 2:30 a.m. here. I've just been going and going and going, trying to get this thing finished. So you can see I've been pretty busy. I put the rest of the drawer boxes together, put all the drawer slides in, and this is a good learning point, right? So the guy that sold these plans warned me when he sold them to me. He warns everybody because it's in the plans. Basically, measure exactly what the cut needs to be for your front and back panels of the drawer boxes, as well as the actual bottom panel of the drawer box, so that it fits exactly. Mine are just a hair short on the right side, and like just like I want to say an eighth maybe of an inch short on the left side. So they don't ride in the tracks as nicely as they should. And I bought those nice soft close drawer slides, and they don't really work as they should. They kind of, you see, they do when you get them close enough, but to get it out, it's not really that hard. I just don't have anything to grab onto. Well, of course it decides to work, so that's a bonus. So anyways, what we're going to do now is this trick that I've learned or I've seen, but I've never done. So we're going to do it all together for the first time. Essentially, you take your drawer front, your false drawer front, put it up against your piece, you shove some playing cards all around it to make sure it's like nice and flush and even, and then you attach it where you would put the drawer pulls to the drawer box itself, attach it from the inside, and then you can put your pull on. So let's just get down to it. So that method actually worked pretty well. So would recommend if my dresser was a bit more square, everything would line up a lot nicer. But I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of my final answer. It's a little tight on the bottom. We'll see how the rest of them go. But again, this is kind of my first time for everything, so a little wild. But check it out. That's a soft close drawer right there. All right, so we've gotten the piece all set up so that we're ready to apply the oil. And whoa, the wind's blowing my stuff around here. So I've never used a straight oil, right? I've only done varnishes, things like that. But based off of some independent research, mainly me on my iPhone late last night, tung oil is the popular choice for walnut. So I've got a scrap piece of wood because I definitely don't want to apply it to the final piece until I know that that's what I want to go for. So I've got a jointed piece of wood here, jointed and planed, that matches the dresser itself. So we'll see what that looks like. So it's pretty simple stuff, pretty idiot proof. You just apply a generous amount, let it dry for about 10 minutes, and then buff it with a dry cloth. So we'll go ahead on that. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. Now we just buff it out. There we go. So you can see what it looks like without the oil. And then it's pretty dry to the touch too, really no residue on there, so that's great. And then with the oil, and you see the reason you'd want to use the oil versus not having it, even though this is a little bit dirty, you see the grain so much more, and that's why I wanted walnut, because I think it's got a gorgeous grain, that dark
kind of edge to the grain, and then the lighter colors. And then the very conscious choice and intentional one I'm making to not apply a stain or a varnish mixed in with the oil. So yeah, let's get the rest of the piece stained up, oiled up. All right, so while we were in the middle of putting on the oil, and I'm seeing a place I need a vacuum as I'm talking, but anyways, as we were in the middle of that, the little Z clips that I had ordered to attach the tabletop came in. So check this out. This is what they look like. Literally just a Z or an S, but you can find them if you Google Z clips. So there's a hole on one end, and that's what goes into the tabletop. And then the other end is just like a lip, right? And so the idea is that you screw it into the top of the tabletop, and then you hang it. Essentially, you're not hanging it because it's really going to catch to hold itself steady. You hang it into a spot like this where there's flexibility left and right and back and forth for the wood to expand and contract, since we used real wood for the tabletop there, and it will expand and contract. If you don't, it's either going to bow, cup, could split the glue joint and pull apart your nice tight seams. So this will help to prevent that and still allows it to be attached to the top. So how we did that is I just took a biscuit joiner and I set the tabletop on top of the dresser here, and I held this up to where I'd screw it in, and I drew a line, and then I set my biscuit joiner height to that height so that it can just sit right there flush with it. So that's the goal. So now we're going to go ahead and put the tabletop on and screw everything in. We did it. It's done. I kind of can't believe it. Months long process, and just an incredible learning experience. Jumping into like amateur woodworking and fine furniture. I think most people don't start off with a giant dresser with a lot of technical pieces. But I did, and that's why I started this channel. And it just goes to prove to everyone, to you guys, to myself, that you don't need any experience. You don't need big, powerful tools. You don't even need to have a shop class that you took in high school, because your high school might not have offered it. You can just start, right, with a couple hobbyist tools that I've shown you guys before, and a lot of determination and just a determined attitude. So this is it, guys. I'm super happy with how it turned out. It's square, like I said. This thing's solid. It's not moving. It's beautiful. I love the oil, all the grain that you can see. I'm so glad I went with the walnut and decided to just use an oil as opposed to a traditional varnish or stain. And I'm just really happy with it. Drawers, they work like drawers should. Pop on out, a little bit of rebound, but then soft close back in. So just incredibly happy with it. It's a beautiful piece. I'm proud to be able to pass this down to my son, and hopefully it stays in the family and his family for a long time to come. I still have pieces of furniture that were handed down to me from my grandfather. So that's part of a lot of the inspiration here. So if you've been on this journey with me, thank you so much for sticking around, for all the support, advice, criticism even that we've gotten in the last 6 months. It's been an awesome journey, and I'm so excited to see where this takes us. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been 5 O'Clock Woodshop. Like, subscribe, and comment for more.